All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Mike. And today for UFC 280, we're going to be breaking down the card. This is episode 35. I'm going to be going live today, right now. We're going to go real quick. We're going to run through the card. I want to do all the fights in no more than 25 minutes. That's because I'm going to be going live on Wednesday for a really special panel with a bunch of really special guests to break down this card. I'll be going live on Wednesday, 12 a.m. midnight, so technically Thursday, Eastern time, and I'll be breaking down the card with Uncle Weezy, Wiz Betts, Liam from Liam Picks Fights. We all know him. And, of course, Pat from Addicted to Combat, my guy. It's going to be a great show, so make sure to tune in on Wednesday. But without further ado, we're going to jump into this card. I'm going to do a shorter than usual breakdown. Let's see how it works out. I think it should be a good one. The card is great. I've already got a ton of spots. I've got over 10 units on one person that I'm going to talk about. And yeah, it's going to be a really dope night, I guess morning for us over in America. So I'm very excited, and let's hop right into it. So for this very first fight, we've got Lina Lansberg versus Karol Rosa. Lansberg is 10-6-0. She's 40 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach, and she's training out of Redline TC. On the other side, you got Karol Rosa. She's 15-4-0. She's 27 years old, so she's 13 years younger. 5'5", so she's giving up 2 inches in height. 68-inch reach, so she's got a 2-inch reach advantage. And I've got her training out of PRVT. So real quick before I jump in, I just want to say what's up to the chat. We got Eric, my guy from Eric Betts Fights, saying, yo, what's up, brother? Make sure to check out Eric. He's always killing it nonstop. And then we got my guy, Jake. Thank you for tuning in, man. I appreciate you big time. And all right, so for this matchup, I'll be quick. I'll be short and sweet. I like Karol Rosa quite a bit. She's currently sitting at minus 320. Oh, my goodness. That was not there earlier. Earlier today, she was at like minus 270. Now she's at 320. I think it's entirely too wide to play just because it's too expensive. I mean, just to win a unit, if you're going to play money line, you got to risk almost 3 units depending where you're betting. I don't love that, but I do think Karol Rosa's got her covered. Karol Rosa is going to have the wrestling edge here. Lansberg is not going to bring that same threat that McMahon did. I played McMahon in that fight because I knew that Karol Rosa wouldn't have the better wrestling than her. And here, I think she does have the better wrestling. We saw Lansberg taking down by Kianzad. I think that Rosa has the better striking. I think Rosa, without a doubt, has the better output. If Rosa puts out over 100 strikes like she has against Lansberg, I think Lansberg is going to break. She's 40 years old at this weight class. It's never a good look. I know recently we've seen a lot of old fighters popping the hell off, right? Guido Canetti for one. I don't think this is it. I think Karol Rosa is going to roll here. My guy Eric saying he parlayed her at minus 250 just earlier today. Yeah, good shit, man. You beat the line. I have her parlayed up. I'll tell you guys right now. It's a total of 3.5 units. I have her parlayed at minus 107 with 2 other fellas who I'll talk about soon. She was at minus 225 at the time. I parlayed her again 2 times, and she was minus 230 and minus 250 respectively. Again, I'll get to those parlays once the second leg is up. I like Karol Rosa, wrestling, striking, output edge, much younger. And we're going to move on to the next fight. All right, this one I'm going to spend even less time on. We've got Mokaev versus Malcolm Gordon. Mokaev is 7-0, undefeated as a pro. He's 22 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach, and I do have him training out of KHK MMA team. On the other side, you've got Malcolm Gordon, who's 14-5-0. He's 32 years old, so he's 10 years older. He's 5'7". They're the same height. They got the same reach at 70-inch reach. And he trains out of Adrenaline MMA Training and Fitness. Look, guys, I love underdogs. I play them all the time. If you follow me, you know that. If you look at my Bet MMA page, what's the category I do best on? It's big underdogs. For big underdogs, out of 117 picks, I've been correct 37 times. That's 32%. The ROI on that is 20%. To compare that, my big favorite ROI is 5%. My slight favorite ROI is 3%. My slight underdogs ROI is 3%. But my big underdogs is 20%. I love my dogs. But when I look at underdogs, I need to see a path. I have to see something that can suggest to me that they're going to win that fight. And I have no path here for Malcolm Gordon. I don't think he's the better striker. I think he has a better output than Mokaev. I don't think that's going to matter because I don't think we're going to be on the feet for long. I think that Mokaev will take him down and can finish him in the first takedown. If not, I think it'll be the second or third that gets it done. I know a lot of people like Charles Johnson against Mokaev. They wanted to see if maybe they could fade the hype prospect with another prospect who's very talented. And in my opinion, that just showed just how good Mokaev is, because Charles Johnson is a legitimate prospect. He is. And I think that Charles Johnson would smoke Gordon too. So it's not like, I think that Gordon just isn't that good. I think his last 2 wins are a bit fraudulent. Not that they're fraudulent. Look, he deserved those wins, right? The Francisco Figueiredo fight. What I mean by fraudulent is I just mean that I don't think it was that impressive of a win. And then he beat, what was his name? The Ukrainian fella, my brother. I'm not remembering his name off the top of my head. And like I said, I want to move quick. Bondar, Denis Bondar. Look, Bondar took him right down, super easy. I understand he ended up losing via injury, and I would say that Gordon caused that injury. But yeah, I think Mokaev is going to smoke him. And Mokaev is the guy that I was talking about, who I have over 10 units parlayed. I mean, it's ugly. I've got him parlayed attached to pretty much everyone. I'm just that confident. I would play his money line, but it's too expensive. I'd rather parlay him and just add boosts to my other fighters that I chose. I really think it's him all day. I will probably also play his ITD and his sub if we get them soon. Oh, it's out. So let's check it out, right? Mokaev, let's see. Mokaev inside the distance is minus 175. I think I'm going to probably play that. Mokaev by submission is plus 135. I think that's the most likely outcome, but I get nervous playing those because ground and pound is always a possibility. Mokaev by decision, I wouldn't touch that because I don't think we're going to get there. Yeah, I like Mokaev ITD. I might get there at minus 175. I think that's pretty fair. I think he's going to absolutely smoke Gordon, but we'll move on to the next fight. Next up, we've got Armen Petrosyan versus AJ Dobson. Petrosyan is 6'2" 0. He's 31 years old. He's 6'3" with a 71-inch reach, and I have him training out of American Top Team. On the other side, we've got AJ Dobson. He's 6'1" 0, 30 years old, so he's 1 year younger. 6'1", so he's 2 inches shorter, and he's got a 76-inch reach, so he does have a 5-inch reach advantage. And for Dobson, I'm not positive about where he's training at. I have West Side Barbell, but I do know that he spent time with Matt Brown, so I don't know exactly where he's at, but I'll say this. So I played this really early. I played this at open. Around minus 235 was where it started, I believe, or that's when I got in. I got Petrosyan at minus 235 for 4 units. He's currently at minus 194, and it's climbing the other way. It's looking to me like I'm going to be playing him again. If we I just don't think it should be this close. Even I thought that minus 235 was a steal. So now that it's climbing the other way, I'm going to definitely get behind Petrosyan probably for another 2 units. My guy Papa Chuck in the chat, thank you for tuning in, man. I appreciate your support big time. And yeah, this one really for me, I just don't understand it. I don't get it. People love Dobson, and I don't understand the love. His Hashem Arshaga win on the Dana White's Contender Series was not impressive whatsoever. He literally got hurt by a terrible, terrible opponent, super sloppy. He did say in interviews that he did that because it was a Contender Series and that he would come in looking much cleaner in his next fight. And, I have to give him some credit. He did come into that Mao Kun fight looking better and crisper. I was actually looking at it today, and I was like, you know what? The striking actually looks pretty good. I can't hate all too much. I was going to hate way more, but his 1-2 looked good. Combos were there. He kept it straight for the most part, which is something he didn't do in Dana White's Contender Series. And he's very, very fast. He has fast hands, but he slowed down. And I understand that it was probably Mao Kun's grappling and pressure and pace that slowed him down. I just think that, in an intense striking matchup, I think he might get tired out also. I also expect him to try to wrestle here. I know a lot of people are saying, Petrosyan's so easy to take down, 30% takedown defense. Dobson can do that. But what I would respond with is, who's this takedown defense coming to, right? He's giving up takedowns to Kai Borralho. He's giving up takedowns to Gregory Rodriguez, 2 very high-level BJJ grapplers who also have good wrestling and judo. And then he was taken down by his Dana White's Contender Series opponent, who is not a good striker, but you can't say he's not a good grappler. The guy is a very good wrestler. So Dobson, in my opinion, isn't on par with any of those 3 in terms of wrestling. He's not even close. So I don't expect him to get Petrosyan down. I expect him to try. I expect him to tire himself out trying. But I think that Petrosyan's going to be winning these striking exchanges. So I do expect Petrosyan to win this fight. I think a knockout is live. I think he's got the better output. I think he's the cleaner striker. And while he doesn't have the grappling available, and Dobson maybe does, I don't think Dobson will succeed there. So on the feet, if you're telling me we're having up to a 15-minute striking match, I'm with Petrosyan all day long. Give me the kickboxer. Give me the proven striker. I like Petrosyan quite a bit. And now that he's under minus 200, I'm going to have to get on probably again. But we're going to move on. This one is interesting, right? So we got Abubakar Nurmagomedov versus Gadzi Omargadzhiev. Nurmagomedov is 16-3-1. He's 32 years old, 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. And he trains out of AKA over with Habib. Right now, I know that they've been in Abu Dhabi for a while. I'm blanking on the camp. I have it in my notes for some of the other fighters, so I'll talk about it soon. Omargadzhiev on the other side, he's 13-1-0, 29 years old, so he's 3 years younger. He's 6'1", so he's 2 inches taller, and he's got a 72-inch reach, so he's given up 1 inch in reach here. And I have Gadzi training out of MMA Factory over in Paris. And look, I went into this one, and I was thinking, all right, we got two guys who are clearly very similar fighters. The skill sets are on par, very similar. They do very similar things. I wasn't going to touch it. If anything, I was going to go with Gadzi Omargadzhiev. But then after taping it, I decided to parlay up Nurmagomedov a little bit, only for a unit. I'll talk about with who. It's a half unit with Rosa and a half unit with Mokaev. And for me, it comes down to this. Two similar guys, right? Who's got the better striking? I have to lean Abubakar Nurmagomedov. He actually has crisp striking. He was out striking Jared Gooden, for heaven's sakes. A guy who is a good fighter, a good striker. I know he got cut. I don't think it was a rightful cut. I think he should have been kept in the UFC, and I think we'll see him back. So out striking him was very impressive. Whereas you look at Gadzi's striking, and it's just not good. It works. It works because there's that threat of the wrestling, but the threat's not going to be so live with Nurmagomedov. I don't see Nurmagomedov being nervous about the takedowns of Gadzi. And Gadzi, he loops his strikes very much. He likes that overhand right a lot. He's got a 38 striking defense out of his 2 UFC fights. The way he puts himself out of position, I mean, I would say the fight IQ is a big thing here too. I would say that Abubakar, while, he did get caught against Zawada, he's been caught, he's made mistakes. I still think he has a higher fight IQ than Gadzi. Gadzi, when fighting Kai Borralho, round number 1, he's the one who took down Borralho and got reversed. Rounds 2 and 3, Gadzi, I think, at least twice, he swung like a lunatic, overswung, completely missed, and Borralho just took his back. To me, that shows a lack of fight IQ, right? So while I don't have any way of knowing whose wrestling is better, I'm fairly confident that it's Abubakar with the striking edge. I'm fairly confident that it's Abubakar with the fight IQ edge. And I know that it's Abubakar with the competition edge. So I am going to be going with Abubakar Nurmagomedov. I parlayed him at minus 175 together with Karol Rosa before she blew up to minus 300. The exact line was I got her at minus 257. So the two of them combined was plus 118, which I like quite a bit for a half unit. And then I parlayed him with my guy Mokaev for a half unit at minus 128. And that's my play there. I like Abubakar. I wasn't going to play anything, but once I saw that I do think he has an edge here and I think the price is fair, I went with Abubakar. All right. So this next fight, I'm very hyped to talk about. I've got another hefty wager here on the hefty favorite. And let's get right into it. For this next fight, we've got Yamato Nishikawa versus Magomed Mustafaev. Nishikawa is 21, 3-6. He's 19 years old, 5'7", and I have him training out of Nishikawa Dojo. I would imagine that seems like to be his camp, maybe his father. I do not know that much, so I apologize about that. Mustafaev on the other side, he's 14, 4-0, 34 years old. So he is, what is that? He's 15 years older, 1 inch taller, 5'8". He's got a 71-inch reach. We don't have a reach for Nishikawa, but based on his fights, it appears he's got a slightly short reach. So I think it's going to be Mustafaev with the edge there, but it's totally a guess. And Mustafaev, I have him training in Dagestan. I don't have a confirmed camp. I'm not sure if he's at a big name camp, but I know based on his Instagram that he is in Dagestan. So, look, I think it's wrong. I think this fight is just wrong. Even if Nishikawa can somehow pull it off, I like he's 19 years old. You're putting him against a 34-year-old who's been around the block, who's fought some of the best guys, who's a potent finisher, knocked out freaking Rafael Fiziev, and you're putting him against a newbie who's 19 years old, who has had most of his fights in the last 2 and 3 years. I was watching, I consume just as many podcasts as I put out, probably more. And of course, every weekend on Sunday, I watch Stat Stiggers with Brady and Wheezy. And I think it was Wheezy who was saying that Nishikawa had like 30 fights in the last 6 years, whereas Mustafaev has had 2. That's insane. And that's my concern, right, with Mustafaev. I played him up pretty heavy and then got a little concerned, so I stopped. I was going to put him past 10 units just like I did Mokaev, but I ended up getting nervous because of that inactivity. But look, Nishikawa, his strength has been his submission grappling, his wrestling, his BJJ. I don't think that's going to be available against Mustafaev. I think Mustafaev has the way better offensive grappling. And if you look at Nishikawa, he's getting taken down in the regionals constantly. Sugawara got him down. Kawana got him down and held him down a lot. He finished Kawana in round 4, but he was getting out-grappled the entire fight. The issue with him, a big problem, is that he'll accept bottom to fish for those submissions. And yes, Mustafaev's been subbed 2 times, but those, let's pull that up, right? Let's pull it up so we can see when that was. And against who that was, right? Because those things are important things to know. All right, so I got his record up. He was choked out by Kevin Lee in 2016. I do not think that Yamato Nishikawa is on the level of Kevin Lee. And before that, he was submitted in 2011, his second fight ever against a regional guy. Not a good win at all, but that was in 2011 in his second pro fight. So you can't blame him. I like Mustafaev here. I think he can knock out Nishikawa. I think he's going to get a ton of control. I understand he has 23% takedown defense, 41% striking defense. So it's easy to look at the numbers and be like, I'd rather take the dog shot. But like I mentioned earlier, when I take dog shots, I need a path. And the only path I see for Nishikawa here is Mustafaev straight up tweaking out or just looking like trash out of inactivity. And while those things are possible, I don't think they're likely. So I do have Mustafaev parlayed the hell up. I'll read you the parlays now. All right. So I parlayed. This was totally out of character, but I felt like it was a good spot. I like to take low-hanging fruits. So I parlayed Mustafaev and Mokaev, right? That was minus 550 Mustafaev, minus 725 on Mokaev. So that parlay comes out to minus 290. Disgusting, poo-poo, but I played 3 units on it. Then I parlayed Mustafaev, Mokaev, Rosa at minus 107 for 1.1 units. I parlayed Mustafaev, Mokaev, and someone coming up soon that I'll talk about. Then I parlayed, and that's it. So I parlayed him up for about 5.5 units-ish, something around there. I like him to win this fight. I think he knocks out Nishikawa. The fight doesn't go the distance to me at minus 350 is parlayable even. Will I do it? Probably not. But yeah, I like Mustafaev, and I'm going to move on. My guy Prince of Mischief in the chat, thank you for tuning in, man. I appreciate you big time. What's up, brother? And let's move on to the next fight. All right, so for this next one, we've got Zubaira Tukhugov versus Lucas Almeida. Tukhugov is 25-1. He's 31 years old, 5'8" with a 68-inch reach, and he's trading out of AKA. Let me double check that in my notes. It doesn't sound extremely correct to me. Okay, yeah, no, it is correct because he trains with Khabib. But I mentioned earlier, Khabib and his guys are in Abu Dhabi training. They've been at NAS Sports Complex. I know that Belal was there with them, so just important to know because they've been training over there. On the other side, you got Lucas Almeida. He's 14-1-0, 31 years old as well, but he's 5'11", so he is 3 inches taller. He's got a 71-inch reach, so he's got a 3-inch reach advantage. And I do have him training out of Team Kiyoshi. I couldn't confirm or deny that. And yeah, so this one, the second I saw the odds, right, it opened weird. It opened with Almeida as the favorite, which I did not think should be the case. And, rightfully so, the line came in on Tukhugov. Now the line is sitting at, you got Tukhugov, one moment. You got Tukhugov minus 155, minus 158 on Bet Online. Come back on Almeida, plus 135, plus 138. I ended up taking Almeida here. The way I did it was So my guy Daz in the chat, thank you for tuning in, man. Appreciate you too. Saying Lucas 100% finish rate, and that's correct. Lucas Almeida's been to one decision in his many fights, in his 15 fights, and that's the one fight he lost against Daniel Zellhuber. Honestly, if he did go to decision with Trezano, I think he probably would have won that fight anyways. So I don't think it's impossible for Almeida to win decisions, especially in this fight where you got Tukhugov, who can really be a little gun shy sometimes. He's lost fights with inactivity. His output is pretty low. He did change that up in his last fight against Ricardo Ramos. It was a super close fight, but he did change up the output. I believe he had the highest output of all of his fights. I think it was like 72 significant strikes, something like that, which is out of character for Tukhugov. That's higher than usual. I just feel like Almeida's going to bring the output here. Almeida's going to have the power. Who throws the straighter strikes? Almeida. Who's probably got the crisper technique? I wanted to say Tukhugov, but I'm not convinced. I think on the feet, I lean Almeida. Not only do I think might have the better striking, I know he's taller by 3 inches. I know he has a 3-inch reach advantage. And I know he's going to be relentless with that output. He's going to mix targets. He's going to beat you up for as long as he can. Do I think Zubaira Tukhugov will finish him? No. Do I think Zubaira Tukhugov could use his wrestling to grapple out a decision win? Yes. If we're stuck on the feet, do I think Tukhugov wins? I'm not convinced. I almost played Almeida money line and called it a day, but because he's never won a decision, because I think it's Tukhugov who has that wrestling minute winning ability, I decided to play Lucas Almeida decision no action just to give myself a little bit of insurance. So the price isn't that better. I played that at plus 150, and for anyone who doesn't know what that means is if we get to a decision, no matter who wins that fight, I get my money back. If Lucas Almeida finishes Tukhugov, I win. If Tukhugov finishes Almeida, I lose. I don't think Tukhugov finishes Almeida. I want to pull up when his last finish was in the UFC. I actually don't remember. So the last time Tukhugov got a finish in the UFC was against Kevin Aguilar. That was in 2020. Kevin Aguilar now is no longer in the UFC. Before that, it was Ernest Chavez, who he knocked out in the first round in 2014. And those are his only 2 UFC finishes. So I don't think he's going to finish Almeida. The only concern I have with my bet is that I think, it might suck if Almeida ends up winning the decision, but I'm cool with having this insurance. I'm cool with getting that push, even if Almeida wins. I think Almeida can get the finish here. He's a dangerous man, a dangerous striker. And if he doesn't get the finish, I think I'm going to get my money back. So I like that play. Let's catch up with the chat real quick. Daz saying decision only bet on Tukhugov. Tukhugov is a smart bet. If you like Tukhugov, I'd play it that way. I agree. I don't know what the line is on that, but Daz saying other ways good too. That's what I'm doing. Let's see. Prince of Mischief. Did you hear that the UFC has now banned fighters' managers from betting on the UFC? This includes fights they're not competing in. What the fuck? So in terms of it includes fights they're not competing in, as far as I understood, it's only people they're close to. I could be incorrect. If I am, please let me know. That's how I understood whatever they put out, but I also read it in passing. I feel like it makes sense. While it kind of sucks that fighters can't bet on themselves because of a few people, this shit that James Krause is pulling, I think that's kind of what led to this, right? Because you have a high-profile coach who's actively running a super sus subscription with his bets. And at the same time, we have that thing with, you look at the Mana Martinez fight where it looked like James Krause had the freaking under. I don't follow him. I don't know if he did have that under or if he had Mana inside the distance, but Mana was winning that fight and he was bugging out for a finish. So I think it's probably smart to ban them from betting. I do. It sucks, but I do think it's smart. Let's see. James Krause is 100% the reason for this. I think so too. And he's sus. Yeah, he's pretty sus, but we'll move on. I'm already past the time that I wanted, and we still have like half the card. So I'll try to be quick, but all right, guys. So real quick. So for this next fight, we've got Volkan Oezdemir versus Nikita Krylov. For this one, I kind of botched the line movement, but it's okay. So Oezdemir is 18, 6-0, 33 years old. He's 6'2" with a 75-inch reach, and I have him training out of all-stars right now. I really couldn't place him exactly, so if anybody in the chat knows better, let me know. Krylov on the other side, he's 28, 9-0. He's 30 years old, 6'3", so he's 1 inch taller. He's got a 78-inch reach about, so he's got a 3-inch reach advantage. And I have him training out of Global Fight Gym. So, honestly, Adam, thank you, because I was about to talk about this, and I'm glad you brought it up. Nikita Krylov, if you guys noticed in his fights, especially recently, does not have a Ukrainian flag up in the UFC. Why? Because he's from Donetsk. Donetsk is Russian-controlled. It has been for a long time. It's been Russian-friendly for a long time, and during this whole war, they've been on the Russian side. So I don't talk politics on this chat, but I am indeed a Ukrainian fella. I was going to wear this hat before I decided to wear my Viking hat. My parents are from Ukraine. It is my place. It is my country. I feel strongly about everything going on. So I do care very much when people talk about this. Krylov is not Ukraine friendly. We do not claim him. He does not claim us. So just make sure to keep that in mind when you guys are thinking, like, back a Ukrainian during this conflict. He's against us. He's not with us. So that's really not the case for him. Just a heads up. But all that said, I don't bet with my heart. I bet with my brain. And because my brain thinks that Nikita Krylov wins this fight, I'm going to be betting him. Like I said, you can't bet with your heart. You have to bet with this thing. Sometimes your brain will still be wrong, but I promise you it's going to be more right than your heart most of the time. Let's see. Adam saying he'll still have that angst, kill or be killed. I can't speak for him himself. I can't, but I'm just letting you guys know about that one particular thing. Daz saying cap better. Horns are offensive to Vikings as they never wore them. Hey, I never said I'm a Viking. I'm a couch warrior, man. It's just the Viking hat seemed to fit the whole warrior vibe. Imagine if I was wearing like an entire knight helmet while I did my breakdowns. I think that might get a little crazy. Maybe start wielding a sword during our breakdowns. Something I did want to do is get like a couch so I can just sit on the couch because I'm a couch warrior instead of on the chair. But I think that's going to have to be something that comes. Daz saying, is Oezdemir a bit tired? What do you mean, in terms of his career or during fights? Because I would say that his cardio is pretty good if you watch his last fight, right? But anyways, for this fight, like I said, I like Krylov. I just think he has more weapons to win that fight. And that's as simple as it is. I think that Krylov is going to have the better output. I think the striking is really close. Oezdemir has really good boxing, really good leg kicks, really good counter striking. But he really prefers the fundamentals. And I think that against Krylov, that won't be the best thing. He can get a little loopy in his own offensive attempts. And I didn't love that against Ankalaev. His output was pretty trash with his hands. 22 of 49 significant strikes were leg kicks, meaning only 27 of those significant strikes were via hands. Do I like Krylov to finish, as Eric is asking me? Honestly, I've been looking at the sub, Eric. That's what I'm looking at. Because you look at the records, right? Oezdemir has 2 submission losses. Krylov, he does have 6 sub losses, but Oezdemir ain't submitting him. 15 submission wins really stands out to me. I do think he has a significant wrestling edge here. Do I think he actually pulls it off with the finish? I'm not sure. BetOnline is offering his sub for plus 350. I want to see if I can get a better line from BetRivers or FanDuel. If they give me like plus 400 or better, I'll sprinkle that sub because I do think it's live. And I think that if Krylov is smart, or if Krylov has a smart team behind him, or anyone with some sense, he's going to wrestle here. Because while Oezdemir does show 86% takedown defense, I'm actually curious to talk to Uncle Weezy on Wednesday about this. Like I said, he'll be on the panel because the takedown defense of Oezdemir is 86%. But I'm curious what that was before Paul Craig went 0-15 on takedowns in their last fight. That's what I'm curious about. Eric saying Krylov by sub at round 3 is at plus 1,500 has me feeling a little froggy. I'll probably sprinkle that too. But like I said, I bet you BetRivers or FanDuel gives us plus 2,000 or better. Prince of Mischief saying save the couch for the watch party. When's that happening, by the way? I'd love to get a watch party going. I've tried multiple times so far. Maybe I didn't try early enough, and I haven't really decided for sure that I'm doing it, so I can't say like it didn't work out. But yeah, I'd love to do a watch party at some point. I do normally watch with my girlfriend because the weekends is when we hang out. We don't currently live together, but she watches all the cards with me, which is why I can't really do a watch party half the time. But when I'm alone, which is sometimes, I would love to do one. So hopefully I get to. But yeah, we're going to move on. I'm way over time already, 30 minutes, and we're barely halfway through. I do want to say right now, they're going live over at Die Hard MMA with Uncle Weezy and Clint. I was going to go watch. I still will watch after this, but just wanted to let everybody know, we don't compete here. We're all working together. So we're going to move on to the next fight. Next up, we've got Makhmud Muradov versus Kai Borralho. And I really wish that Muradov never had that GM3 fight or won it, because I'd be fascinated to know what the line looks like if Muradov wasn't coming off of a sub loss against a sub specialist. Because I have a feeling that it wouldn't be like this. I have a feeling that it would be very close. Because if you look at this fight on the feet, it's difficult to give the edge to Borralho. It's close. I will say it's close because Borralho's a very technical striker. He keeps everything straight, even straighter than Muradov does. Nice 1-2 down the pipe, nice combinations, mixes in the kicks well. And this is what I wanted to highlight. I wanted to highlight the accuracy. If you look at the accuracy of Kai Borralho, in his 2 UFC fights and 2 Dana White Contender Series fights, he's had a 62% striking accuracy. That is very high. You don't see that often, not even from Peter Yan. You just don't see that often. Meanwhile, on Muradov's side, a striker, he's supposed to be the striker here. He's got a 42% striking accuracy in the UFC. And it's not like he's fighting super defensively sound fighters, right? He's fighting, let's pull it up. He's fighting GM3. He's fighting Andrew Sanchez. He's fighting Trevor Smith, Alessio Di Chirico. He's not really fighting the most accurate strikers, and yet he's not fighting the best defensive strikers, and he's still only landing 42%. So I wouldn't say that it's a crazy striking discrepancy here, but I think the grappling discrepancy is legitimate here. You look at Muradov's losses, right? He's got 4 submission losses, one of them being to GM3. I do think an asterisk is needed here because other than the GM3 one, none of them were more recent than 2013. So it did take a legit guy like GM3 to submit him. But honestly, I think Borralho's BJJ is comparable to GM3. I don't think it's that different. Daz saying Muradov lost by sub a lot. Like I said, 4 times. But 3 of those times were in 2013 or earlier. So that's worth mentioning. But, only 4. 4 is a lot. 4 is a lot of losses by sub. So, yeah, look, like I said, for me, this comes down to this. The striking discrepancy, in my opinion, while Muradov has the edge, isn't wide at all. But the grappling edge, I think, is wide. Muradov, I understand he's Russian, so you would think that he's a wrestler. He's not. He doesn't really wrestle in the UFC. He's barely done it. Even in the regionals, he's not really wrestling. He's a striker at heart. The guy's got 17 knockout wins. So I do like Borralho to squeak this out. Whether it's by submission or decision, I'm not sure. I'm very curious to see what I get for that submission prop. I will play him money line right now. Actually, it's since we started the show, the lines have moved quite a bit. Kai Borralho is now minus 192. He was minus 200 literally like less than an hour ago. I'm going to let the line keep climbing the other way, and then I will play Borralho money line. Because like I said, look, I'm not going to say Muradov's not live. I ain't max betting Borralho. I'm only maximum going 2 unit stake. I think he's got all the weapons to win. It's going to be a close fight, an interesting fight. But I do like Borralho, and we're going to move on to the next one, which is one I cannot wait to talk about. All right. Catching my breath. All right, you guys ready? My guy Akira in the chat. Cool hat. This is my buddy from home. Everybody say, what's up, Akira? What up, Akira? Always funky having friends pull up. But all right, so this next fight, I'm hype about it. We've got Belal Muhammad versus Sean Brady. Muhammad is 21-3-0. He is 34 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. And he's currently training over with the guys at NAS Sports Complex. I was mentioning this earlier. That's a gym over in Abu Dhabi. I believe he's training with the Khabib and his team, which I think is a fantastic look for this fight. On the other side, you've got Sean Brady, 15-0, undefeated as a professional, 29 years old. He's 5 years younger, 5'10". He's got a 1-inch height disadvantage, 73-inch reach. He's got a 1-inch reach advantage, and he is training out of Renzo Gracie, Philly. So, this is one of those fights that has everybody torn. I've seen people very heavily on Sean Brady. I've seen people loving Magomed, and I'll say I haven't had the best time betting either of these guys. I did bet Brady against Christian Aguilar at an atrocious line. I think I got him like -2 something, which was like way too close because he killed him. Belal, I've played Belal. I faded Belal. I played Luque against him. That wasn't a good play. I played Wonderboy Thompson against him. That was not a good play. So, I can't say I've had the best read on these guys, but what it comes down to for me is this. Belal has got a 91% takedown defense. He's fought guys like Damian Maia. It's not like he's never fought someone who can take his back. Damian Maia literally went 1-21 on takedowns. Brady, can he take Belal down? He'll probably get him down, but can he hold him down? I really, really don't think so. Can he dominate him and take his back? I really don't think so. Can he submit Belal? I really don't think so. And who do I think's got the better striking if we're stuck on the feet? I think it's Belal Magomed. I do. I think Belal has the better striking. He's crisper. Both of these guys are meat and potatoes completely. Neither one is throwing fancy strikes. Neither one is like killing it out there on the feet. But you look at Sean Brady, and he quite literally got outstruck by Michael Chiesa in round 3. It was not a good look. I understand, it's one fight, one round. He didn't know he was winning already. Maybe he slacked off. That's a fair argument. But even outside of that, he's never shown the most elite striking. He really never has. Whereas, Belal also has never shown elite striking, but he's fought some of the best guys, and he's still won his fights. So Belal's got the experience advantage. He's got the opponent's advantage. Belal, in my opinion, has a striking edge, and he's got the defensive grappling edge. So I do like Belal. I played him at +120 for 1 unit. This line's been incredibly hard to read. It's been all over the place. The money's coming back in on Belal now, +125-ish. It's been going back and forth. It seems like it's not going to go past like +130 Belal. Let's check in with the chat. Prince of Mischief saying early he had Brady, but he dug in and placed the bet today on Belal. Let's go. Yeah, man. I was also going to wait, but I thought that the hype of Sean Brady would carry him down. Maybe people would parlay him, right, with like Mokaev and stuff. They haven't been, and money's been coming in on Belal. So, yeah, that's why I played 120. Good stuff on the +125. Daz saying over -250 is the only thing I'd consider. Belal might break Brady's streak. Yeah, I've been looking at that too for maybe a chalk, just 3-unit play. But honestly, I wouldn't want to because it's MMA at the end of the day. Can Sean Brady clinch up a sub that no one saw coming? I mean, it's possible. I don't think it's likely whatsoever. But it's why I'm a little worried about the over. And I think Belal, look, Chiesa, if he was a better striker, I think he could have finished Sean Brady in round number 3, and he didn't. But will Belal finish him in round 3? I also don't think so, but I think it's possible. So I don't know. I'm nervous about the over. I do think it's super live, but I'll probably stay off. And yeah, Belal has an amazing fight IQ. You can't say Brady has a bad fight IQ either. He doesn't. And he is out of a really good camp too. But Belal is working with the best right now. Like I said, he's at NAS Academy with Khabib and all of them preparing in Abu Dhabi. And it's not like they don't have guys his weight. Khabib probably walks well over his weight right now. Abubakar Nurmagomedov on this card is literally the same weight class. I bet you money they've been training together. So I do like Belal here. I played him for 1 unit, and we're going to move on to the next fight. All right. So for this next one, we've got another close one and an interesting step up for one of these people. We've got Caitlin Chookagian versus Manon Fiorot. Chookagian is 18-4-0. She's 33 years old, 5'9" with a 68-inch reach. And I actually couldn't place her camp. I know that it's not any of the ones that it says on there. I know that she's training out of Long Island. I'm not sure exactly where. So that's the best I can give you guys. Manon on the other side, she's 9-1-0. She's not undefeated. I don't know why I went there. 32 years old. She's 1 year younger. 5'7". She's 2 inches shorter. 66-inch reach. She's giving up 2 inches in reach. And I do have her training out of Boxing Squad. So, look, for this one, it comes down to two things for me. I do like Manon Fiorot to win this fight, and for two reasons. A, Chookagian has shown time and time again that she's an absolute dog. I've backed her, I believe, in almost, I've had a really good time betting for and against Chookagian. The first time I backed her was Antonina Shevchenko. She won that fight. I got her as an underdog. I backed Jessica Andrade against her, and then I backed her against Calvillo. I backed her against Araujo. I backed her against Maya. I backed her against Ribas, and she's cashed for me every single damn time I bet on her. I don't think this is it. I don't think it's it for Chookagian. 54% takedown defense, right? And then you look at the Ribas fight. Yes, she won. I think she won. I know some people felt Ribas won. I'm biased on Chookagian, but I really do feel she won that fight. But how did Ribas get her down 3 times? Hip tosses. That was the most effective takedown in that fight, were hip tosses, judo throws. And what can Manon do? What did Manon do in the Jennifer Maia fight? As if she knew she has to show us. That throw. Even better, in my opinion. So the same exact throws that were happening to Chookagian against a smaller Amanda Ribas are going to be available against someone bigger than Amanda in Manon Fiorot. Because don't forget, Amanda Ribas was coming up in weight for that fight. Manon is not coming up in weight. This is her weight class. She's also so freaking dynamic. I mean, I was watching the tape on Manon. I put this on my Twitter. I was responding to my guy, Eric. Manon did this thing. She's fighting. I forget who. I think it was Maya. And she's striking. She throws a head kick, right? So say she throws a head kick on this side. The leg comes, misses the head, right? It comes back on here. Rather than lowering the leg back down, without stepping on it, she just brings it back up the other way and rocks her in the head. I mean, it was sick. So, I think Manon's the more dynamic striker. I think that out of all of Chookagian's competition, she's going to be able to best compete with that output of Chookagian where she finds most success. And I think she's going to be able to take down Chookagian and control her. Chookagian, like I said, 54% takedown defense. So I do like Manon. I got her at minus 180 for 2 units. I know that it has climbed down. It's now the best you can get is on FanDuel, minus 200. Look, I wouldn't go much further than that. At the end of the day, it's hard to say that Chookagian's not live. She literally is always live. I just think there's a big difference here between Chookagian and, I just lost my train of thought, so I'm going to stop. But we'll move on to the next matchup. It's another really dope one. We're up to the really good ones. And for this one, we've got Beneil Dariush versus Mateusz Gamrot. Dariush is 21-4-1. He's 33 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach, and I've got him training at a King's MMA. On the other side, you got Gamrot, who's 21-1-0, 31 years old, 5'10" with a 70.5-inch reach, training out of American Top Team. For me, I kind of knew right away that I was going to bet Gamrot here. I felt that the Tsarukyan fight kind of showed you everything you needed to know. I think that Tsarukyan at this point in his career would beat Beneil Dariush as well. I think that Beneil Dariush has depended on his wrestling, and I don't think he's going to be able to get it off against Gamrot. You look at even against Tsarukyan. Tsarukyan would get him down, and then he would scramble beautifully, get right out of it. Tsarukyan only got one actual takedown. Every time he tried, Gamrot scrambled right out. I think that if Dariush does try to take Gamrot down, Gamrot's just going to scramble. I think it's going to be Gamrot who's going to be landing takedowns if there are takedowns landed, and I think there will be. Dariush does have an 81% takedown defense, but look, Tsarukyan had a fantastic takedown defense going into that fight too. And Gamrot still took him down, 6 times. So Gamrot, I think, is going to be able to dictate where this fight is. I don't think that Dariush could use his submission skills here. He does have 8 sub wins. Gamrot's got 5. Gamrot's never been submitted. Like I said, his defensive scrambling is elite. I just don't think that Dariush is going to be able to beat him. In the striking also, I feel like it's Gamrot. I feel like Gamrot has the edge in the striking. I like his jab better, for sure. I like that his strikes are straighter. And I think he's got a better output than Dariush. Dariush also has been hurt so many times. Alexander Hernandez knocks him out real quick. The Drakkar close fight, it's a W on Dariush's record. But if you look at that, if you watch that fight, it's one of my favorite sequences in existence. I mean, Dariush gets hurt, wobbled, almost finished clearly, and then he finishes Drakkar close. But it did show that he's hittable and he can be wobbled and hurt. So I do like Gamrot here. I think he can dictate where the fight goes. I think he's the better wrestler. I think he's a slightly better striker. Adam saying, isn't Dariush coming off a broken leg? I believe it was an ankle or something like that. I don't think it'll make that much of a difference. I'm sure he took the time he needed. He's been out for a while. But, you know, Gamrot does go for those single legs a lot. Can he maybe like irritate something that's already there? Yeah, that's possible too. Just another thing to like. But I like Gamrot regardless. I just think that he's going to be the one who can dictate where this fight is. I think he's got the edge everywhere we're going. So I do like Gamrot, and he has been more active lately. So also one other thing I wanted to bring up, you know, if you look at you would think looking at them, right, and like thinking about their careers, you would say Beneil Dariush for sure has fought the better competition. But if you look at the competition of Gamrot since he hit the UFC, you know, I wouldn't be so convinced. Let me pull it up. So in his last 5 UFC fights, Gamrot has fought Tsarukyan, Ferreira, Stevens, Holtzman, Kutateladze. Kutateladze, while he doesn't have a big name, we all know how elite he is, you know. I feel like Kutateladze even won his last fight. So, and then the last 5 for Beneil are Tony Ferguson, who's washed beyond belief, Ferreira, who Gamrot beat in much more devastating fashion, Holtzman, who Gamrot beat better in my opinion as well, Drakkar Close, who almost finished Beneil, and Frank freaking Camacho. So I do like Gamrot here. I think he wins this fight, and we're going to move on to the next one. I do apologize. I know I said this one's going to be a quick one. It's such a big card with so much stuff to talk about. I'm doing my best, but it is what it is. For this next fight, let's see. We got Peter Yan, my guy, versus Sean O'Malley. Peter Yan is 16-3-0. He's 29 years old, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach, and he's currently back at Tiger Muay Thai. Sean O'Malley on the other side is 15-1-0, 27 years old, so he's 2 years younger, 5'11". He's 4 inches taller, and he's got a 72-inch reach, so he does have a 5-inch reach advantage, and he's training at a fantastic camp at MMA Lab. Excuse me. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I love Peter Yan here. I'm a Peter Yan truther. I've loved the guy forever. I was convinced he would smoke Aljamain Sterling in their first fight, and he did until he was a moron and cost me almost $1,000. Then, what was it? I backed him against Sandhagen. You know, that was my birthday. My birthday's October 30th. They fought literally that day, I believe, or the day before. And I had so many people over at my house. And during that fight, I told everybody to shut the fuck up and don't talk to me because I'm such a Peter Yan fan. And I felt like Sandhagen made that super close. So, you know, I feel like O'Malley, I get it. I get why people are thinking they kind of like him. You look at the size difference, all that. You look at the fact that, you know, a comparable fight in Corey Sandhagen was relatively close, right? Corey Sandhagen was the bigger guy. He had the reach advantage. And it was a close striking fight. It was a close striking match. Sean O'Malley's got a very similar style to Sandhagen. He's very dynamic. Also, he uses his length really well, very explosive, very powerful. But look, Sean O'Malley, every single time he stepped up, it's been a disappointment. He stepped up against Marlon Chito Vera, and say what you want, but the guy got finished. And then he stepped up against Pedro Munoz, and look, I don't understand how you can say he didn't lose the first round. I mean, even the judges said it. He lost that first round. And I'm saying this as someone who had hundreds of dollars on Sean O'Malley. I mean, him going to a push was fantastic for me. But because I thought he was losing. I thought he was losing that fight. And to me, Pedro Munoz is a very similar fighter to Peter Yan, but I think Peter Yan's much better everywhere. So I don't see it. I don't see how Sean O'Malley wins. The only issue is Peter Yan gives away round 1 like he's doing it out of charity. I don't understand why he insists on doing it every time. He starts slow every single fight, loses round 1 consistently. It's like similar to Chito Vera, who also almost loses every single round number 1. So that's a concern in a 3-round fight. I just don't think that Sean O'Malley is going to be able to pick up 2 or 3 rounds. I've seen people talk about the grappling of Peter Yan. I wouldn't bank on that because he's not a wrestler. He's not. He's a guy who, you know, he's Russian. He's trained at Tiger Muay Thai. He's learned to use his grappling defensively. He's learned trips. He's very slick with them. But at the end of the day, that's not what he's looking for. I mean, if Sean O'Malley gives it to him like Sterling did, he'll take it. But you have to remember, out of those 7 takedowns, a lot of the time, Sterling was putting himself out of place because he was overextending, and all Yan had to do was trip. I don't know if that's going to be so live here. You know, Sean O'Malley, say what you want. MMA Lab is an elite camp with a lot of elite grapplers there. In his weight class alone, he has Casey Kenny and my freaking guy, Kyler Phillips, you know, 2 guys who are very good grapplers as well. You know, and he's training with them. So I wouldn't be convinced that Peter Yan's going to come out here grappling, but I will admit, when you back someone as a favorite, you want them to have more weapons. Peter Yan does have more weapons here. He does have that grappling to rely upon. He's currently at minus 265. It was minus 275 when I got on the show. It opened at minus 250, and if we get there, I think I'm just going to start playing it until we reach something, because, look, I don't think Peter Yan loses. It would have to be him completely shitting the bed and giving up a decision to Sean O'Malley, which I don't see happening, but it's possible. All right, we'll move on to the next fight. We got Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. Sterling is 21-3-0, 33 years old, 5'7" with a 71-inch reach, and he's training out of Serra-Longo BJJ. On the other side, you got Dillashaw, 17-4-0, 36 years old, so he is 3 years older, 5'6", he's 1 inch shorter, 67-inch reach. He's given up 4 inches in reach, and I actually don't know where he trains. I'm almost positive it's not elevation like Tapology says. If anyone in the chat knows, please let me know, because I just don't know where he's training. I couldn't place him based off of his Instagram. But yeah, this one's interesting. So for me, I mentioned this earlier. I'm the biggest one of the biggest Peter Yan fans. I love the guy. And I hated Sterling as an extension of that. And when Sterling beat my guy, you know, I still think Peter Yan may have won that fight, but I do think there's a very strong argument for Sterling winning. And like I mentioned earlier, you can't bet with your heart. So I can't just bet against the guy I hate. And it's even easier to hate him now because the whole thing happening on Twitter, I'm not going to talk about it. I never want to bring in any kind of that kind of drama into my show. But Sterling's getting a bunch of crap on Twitter right now. In my opinion, probably rightfully so. But regardless, we don't bet with our hearts around here. I'm sticking with my gut on Aljamain Sterling. I parlayed him earlier on with Mokaev at minus 645. So it came out to minus 117. Sterling was minus 165. And I played that for 1.2 units. I was planning on playing Sterling money line as well, but 2 things are taking me off that. First of all, the line's climbing towards Sterling. He's now minus 175, minus 181 and climbing. And I don't love that too much. You know, you haven't seen TJ Dillashaw lose a fight in the way that Sterling's winning these fights. We've never seen him have his back taken like the way Sterling does. We've never seen him out grappled like the way Sterling does. And on the feet, you know, you kind of have to favor TJ in terms of technical striking. But the reason I still like Sterling is because, A, TJ didn't look like himself, in my opinion. That Sandhagen fight, I thought he lost, and I didn't think he looked like himself. I didn't think his striking looked super impressive. And I do think that Sandhagen's reach allowed him to land a lot on Dillashaw. And while Sterling is not a dynamic striker like Sandhagen, he's funky, and he knows how to mix his stuff up. He mixes those kicks in really well, makes you think twice. If you're getting a nice front kick to the body, you're going to be thinking about that, and then he can go to your head. And his output is better than TJ's. He mixes it up more than TJ. And in my opinion, he has more weapons here than TJ does. I think he's going to be bigger, stronger. We know he's younger. If anyone can get grappling off, it's going to be Sterling, in my opinion. And in terms of the striking, while I think TJ has the edge, I think the technical edge, I think because of the size, the age, the activity of Aljamain, I think Sterling is still going to pull it off. Like I said, we don't bet with our hearts here. So we're going to move on to the main event of the evening. I'm going to be very short for this one because I want to leave it for my main show this Wednesday, the panel we're going to be doing with Uncle Weezy, Wiz Bets, Liam Picks Fights, and Pat from Addicted to Combat. It's going to be awesome. Make sure you tune in on Wednesday, 12 a.m. So technically Thursday. But yeah, so I'm going to save most of this fight for that, but I'll be quick about my play here. So We've got Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. Oliveira is 33, 8-0. He's 33 years old, 5'10" with a 74-inch reach, and he trains out of Shootbox. They've been killing it lately, knockout after knockout. Good for them. On the other side, Makhachev, 22, 1-0, 31 years old, so he's 2 years younger, 5'10". They're the same height, but with a 71-inch reach, he's given up 3 inches in reach here. And I'll just say this. The only play I'm making here is the fight doesn't go the distance. I'm too emotionally invested in this fight. Early on, I would have told you that it was Islam all day long, no matter what. I'm no longer of that opinion. I think Oliveira is very, very, very live. I think that Oliveira has the better striking. Oliveira has the danger on the ground. And I think this is a similar, I think a good way to think about this is the Chimaev-Gilbert Burns fight, right? Because in that fight, what happened? Chimaev did get Burns down fairly comfortably, right? But he chose not to be there because he felt that submission threat and he rather strike. Charles is going to show a hell of a submission threat to Makhachev. You know, Makhachev did do well against, what's his name? The other BJJ grappler he just fought. I'm blanking on the names. Diago Moises. But I don't think, like, even that fight, you know, he got taken down, but he threw Moises off his back. And, like, Oliveira's not some offensive grappler. He'd rather be off his back. I know only 2 of his subs are off his back, but he scrambles like crazy. He has a striking edge. I think Makhachev still wins. I don't want to play him money line. I rather not have to cheer for anyone with my money, and I'd rather just be hyped for the fight. So what I played was I played the fight doesn't go the distance. I would have never played it at its current line, but you know, you should be following me at Couch Warrior Pod on Twitter, and I do post my plays as soon as I make them. And I did find Oliveira Makhachev fight doesn't go the distance on FanDuel. It opened at -172, and that's where I played it, either that or -174. I played that for 5 units because I do not see this fight going all 5 rounds. And I saw that on Betway at the same time, fight doesn't go was -300. So I knew I was getting a steal. But that's it, guys. That's UFC 280. That's my pick for this main event. Fight doesn't go, 5 units at -172. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Like I said, make sure to tune in on Wednesday, 12 a.m. Eastern time, so technically Thursday, for a really dope panel. I'll be breaking down this very card with Uncle Weezy, Liam Picks Fights, Wiz Bets, and Pat from Addicted to Combat. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a good one. Good luck, everybody.